All right. So before we get started, I kind of want to do like a pre-assessment, see how we're doing with our drive so far. So I'm going to put up a poll on Google Meet here. Oh, let me just type it in real quick. And we are going to rate it on a scale of 1 through 5. We're going to do 1 through 4, so we don't get that easy 3. That's too easy. All right, so 1 being my drive is a hot mess. I have absolutely no system at all, and I don't know what I'm doing. I can't find anything. It takes me forever to find a file. And 4 being my drive is beautiful. I can find everything. I have a perfect system that never messes up, and nothing is out of place. I am not a 4, but I strive to be a 4. I'm like a 3.3. You guys can answer in the poll. So if you go to the three different shapes, the triangle, square, and circle on the bottom right corner, and then you'll see a poll there, and you can answer there so that you don't want to have your name next to a number, or if you really want to share your name with everybody, that's cool too. So we've got lots of 2s, which is probably to be expected. A couple of 1s, couple of 3s. Nobody's a 4. I was hoping there'd be some 4s so I could hand over this class to you. Nice. That is true. Always room for improvement. I mean, a 4 is like an A, but not like a 5. It's not like an AP class, I guess. So maybe 5 would be perfect and no room for improvement. I don't know. I'm reaching here. All right. So kind of what I expected. Lots of 2s, a couple of 3s, a couple of 1s. Being in the chat looks about the same. Lots of 2s, couple of 1s. Yes, I'm going to put the links back in there because I see a couple more people have joined us. All right, so I'm always curious to see like what people are doing and so far what's been working for them and what hasn't. We're going to talk about that shortly. But first, I kind of want to I want to show you what I modeled this session after. Has anybody ever seen the Netflix show, The Home Edit? Get Organized with the Home Edit. They have like, I don't know, 2 seasons or something now on Netflix, and they put everything in like little plastic bins so that it's organized, and then like use rainbows for color organizing and things like that. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like my closet will never look like this, partially because my closet is like 2 feet wide. The left would look like my closet if my closet was more than 2 feet wide. But this is an example of some of the stuff they go ahead and they do, and I meant to block this person's. She's a star. She's used to having a face everywhere, I guess. But kind of before and after. So this might be what your drive looks like if you're a 1 or 2, maybe. And then the idea is they cut in and they clean out your pantry and they reorganize it into a system that is organized and maintainable. Another example of a pantry here. Also, I don't have a pantry that size, so my closet and my pantry will never look like that. Sparks Joy show before. Okay, so here's the thing about the Sparks Joy show. I've seen that too. That's that Marie Kondo one. You can't use that as your drive because if you're feeling like you're having I'm not into working day and you go to a file and you ask that file if it sparks joy for you, you might end up with an empty Google Drive, and that would not be joyful once you try to go you do your work again. So I don't recommend using that system for your Google Drive. Maybe for your house, not for your Google Drive. Here's another example of a closet that I will never have because I live in Monterey, and that closet right there would be like $1,800 just for that square feet. So, but kind of see examples of how they use like systems to organize things. They use containers. They color coordinate things. This is a playroom, arts and crafts and stuff. So you can see that after you see some kind of rainbowifying of things, you see little containers, zones or kind of things. So we're going to use this model to work on our drive, or at least that's what I'm going to present to you. Here's another example of a pantry. You can notice the labels really stick out on this one, and labeling is another thing that is important to their system. So what they do when they are editing a pantry, closet, whatever it might be, room, bathroom, the first step is to edit, and that's when they go through all the stuff that's in there, and they have the homeowners like donate stuff, get rid of stuff, things like that. Our step number one is going to be slightly different with our drive, but some different but similar. And then our steps 2, 3, and 4 are going to be the same. Step 2 is to categorize. So this is where they categorize, like in the pantry, all the like oils and vinegars go together, and all the pastas go together, and whatever else it might be, snacks and things like that. And then contain. So they're really big on these containers. They also have their own product line of containers. So I'm sure it's a little bit of self-promotion, which, hey, go for it, ladies, make all the money. I'm down for that. And then maintain. So this is where they want to make sure that the system that they are presenting to homeowners is something that they can maintain in the long run, and not just like, oh, they did it, it looks pretty. The homeowner goes grocery shopping and they have no idea what to do with the stuff they just bought from the grocery store because they so making sure it's something that is maintainable, which is going to be really important for your Google Drive. So we are going to do the same kind of idea to our drive, and also it won't cost us our full paycheck at the Container Store. So let's kind of take a poll here of what would be, if you had a Drive Genie, what would be your 3 wishes that you would like from the Drive Genie? And then I also have an extra bonus question on there as well. So I'm just put the links in the chat if you don't have them yet. If you click on the Magic Genie lamp in the top left here, grab the genie, see if the genie can come out, and then it's going to take you to this Jamboard. Instructions on the first slide, to use sticky notes to add your wishes to the following slide. So you get 3 wishes. What's your first wish? Next slide is your second wish. Third slide is your third. Fourth slide is your third wish. And then the question at the end is, how do you currently locate your files or organize your drive? So if you don't have a system yet, when you go to Drive, how do you find that particular slideshow or that particular document that you're looking for? What is your system that you have so far? Use a naming convention? Do you search for and hope that you put something in the title that's going to help you? I just realized I'm not showing the right tab. Here we go. This is the Jamboard. Sorry about that. So using the sticky note, which was right underneath the arrow, what is your wishes for the Drive Genie? I'll give you guys a couple minutes to put your wishes down, and we'll take a look at some of them. Oh, Ellen, thanks for putting that link in the chat. Those of you putting sticky notes on the very first slide, let's put them on slides 2, 3, 4, and 5, because the first slide is just the instructions. So I'm hoping these are like first, second, third wishes, maybe. So if you just select your sticky note and you copy or cut Control X and then paste it onto the slide you want it on. First wish, second wish, or third wish. I hear somebody unmuted. Is there a question? You're welcome to ask questions. Let's take a look at what our wishes are here. So we got organized by file type, have a quick access to what I need, able to search for a word that you know is in your file name, categories of folders with subfolders. Google Classroom must go away. Easy to find files, folders that are labeled and easy to find. Improve the add to drive interface. Okay. Okay. Improve the add to drive interface. Let me choose from the last about 5 folders. Where I put something in the drop-down menu instead of just throwing it into the top of my drive. That would be the maintain part. And I want to, whoever wrote that, if I don't show you about the recent files and folders, please remind me at the end to do so. Simple and fast systems, so I don't feel like I'm wasting time. Hierarchy of drive levels condensed. Original assignments without having to shift through years of student work. Okay. I have a sneaky suspicion that those of you that are like Google Drive classroom files are driving me crazy. It's because you are probably just searching for documents, and those documents have the same name as the Google Classroom files from the students. So I imagine that when you search for that document name, you're getting all your students' work too. Second wish, color code and label files. Documents, hey, that wish might be granted today. Implement a system and stick to it. Bring out zip files from my personal drive. So that might get a little iffy. Be able to access the drive without being connected to the internet. Some you can and some you cannot. Categorize, organize, improve search, more time to organize in the middle of the day. Hey, we all need more time. Organize from start to finish of the school year. We might be able to create a system for that. Organize by date created. I can show you how that works. Delete documents no longer needed. Organize self. That I cannot do for you. Wouldn't that be nice? I would also like my house to clean itself and my dinners to cook themselves and my car to wash itself. Delete shared folders that are not needed anymore. Color coding tools help with prioritizing. That I can help you with. And so you find all the things that have been shared easily with me, okay? Delete unused files, shortcut for duplicating files. Wait, what is this orange one? Why can't I add a shortcut to a file located in my drive to a shared drive? Okay, current systems. I usually locate things I need in 2 to 3 large folders. I search by category and in folders, but not always. Sometimes I forget to put them in folders. Date and categories that I like this one. Ha, good one. That's pretty good. As of now, this is too small. Make a new folder for every school year. Then I make folders for each semester, which holds folders for each unit. And within those folders, I have different assignments. That doesn't seem like a sad face. No, necessarily earns a sad face. It's not a bad system. All right, so I see some folders and I see some searching. So that's a good start. All right. I think I missed some over here. Find documents for sustainable. How much raw memory must be needed to maintain multiple years of student plus teacher data. Okay. So there's a lot in here about like deleting old files or moving files from your personal drive over and getting rid of student files. So one of the things to know is that the district has 100 terabytes of storage on Google Drive for the entire district. So if you think about what a terabyte means, there's 1,000 gigabytes in a terabyte, and we have 100 terabytes. So we have a lot of storage. However, we do have a limit now. They used to be unlimited. Now it does have that limit for districts. So keeping that in mind, you probably don't want to go moving all of your like video files from your personal computer over to your drive, because then the district is going to be like, hey, you're using too much space. All these files don't need to live here. But having said that, I think I am at 48 gigabytes of storage in my, what am I at? I have a lot of stuff in my drive, and I am currently at 48.81 gigabytes used. So, and I probably have more than average, like the average teacher or whatever, because I do actually make videos for other people, and those take up a little bit more space, both short and long videos for my job, and so that I am allowed to store in here. So having said that, even you do have a lot of space available, and the longer you're here, the more space you're going to use, and that's okay. So if you're worried about having a bunch of files that are just sitting there, old files, it's not necessarily the first priority for organizing your drive, because you have enough space. But if it's something that bothers you, then of course, you might want to work on that. Okay, so lots of those little Post-its and genie wishes that I saw are things that we are going to talk about today. Now, the Drive Genie can only do so much for you. Can give you ideas and stuff, but the real work comes from the virtual elbow grease you put in. Okay, so similar to the home edit, the Drive edit's 4 steps are going to be, first is to take stock. So that's kind of where you spend a few minutes to go look at your drive and like, okay, what do I have in here? What is already here? What system files, folders, etc. do I already have here? What types of files do I need? So that can help me start to think about step number 2, which is to categorize. So now that I have an idea of what I have in my drive, how can I make that into sort of like an outline of the types of folders and subfolders and things that I would want. And then the third step is to contain, and that's where you take all the work that you have just kind of sitting in your My Drive spot, which is the graveyard of files, because they all just go sit there in an unorganized way. How to find those files and put them into your folders so that they're in a space that makes sense and contained. And then maintain. This is where we'll go over some processes and shortcuts and things like that, where when you make new files, you make copies of old files to make sure that they're going into a folder and not just out there into the world of My Drive, the void of the My Drive folder, so that you don't end up losing the files after you have made this whole system that you're maintaining it. So the first step, as I mentioned, is to take stock. So to think like, what do I have? Take a good few minutes. What do I have in my drive? What do I need to? What already exists? How have I been organizing my files so far? Is there any naming conventions that I've been using? How do I name my files? So when I go look for a file, do I have some sort of system that I use or convention that I use that I then search for when I'm looking for that file? And the thing to think about for your naming conventions is that might be all great and dandy for you, but when people share files, they're going to use their own naming convention. So if you're looking for a shared file, it might not be as easy to search for. However, I will show you how to add shortcuts to those shared files into those folders so that you can find them when you need to. So then this gives you an idea of what kind of files and things you already have that need to be categorized. So if I was to do something like a pantry, I'd look at I'd take stock of what I have. Okay, I have oatmeal and I have pasta and I have almonds and, baking things and whatever. And so I'm categorizing, looking at what's there. And how am I then going to take what's there and put it into categories? So for Drive, it's my suggestion for you is to make an outline of the categories of files that you have in the Drive and how are those going to break up into folders, subfolders, subfolders, etc. So I threw this example together of a potential type of outline that a teacher may have. So for example, if you teach science, because I used to teach science, I was default to that. I would want a folder under my subject for the year. This is how I did it. I would want the year, and then I'd want subfolders for the units. And then the previous years would be the same. So I'd have previous years. I would put them into subfolders for, course materials, unit 1, unit 2, etc. And depending on how long you've been and how far back you want to go with your organizing, you may have even more years. And then I probably also have a folder for my PLC documents so that those still fall under science. And like I said, I just kind of threw this together. I'm thinking like the average teacher's got a subject, maybe 2. So maybe they teach science and math and they have science folder and a math folder. And then within those folders, they have the years and whatnot. There might be on a committee. So just pick safety committee. There might be on a couple committees. And then they can have the files for those committees in that folder. So just kind of thinking about like how might the files for safety committee be organized. And they're just thinking through the process here. And if you're not in full screen, you can actually see more of this outline. This is just an example. Obviously, what works best for you. If you're a teacher, you're going to be evaluated, you have correspondence. So maybe you want those in a different place, conferences and travel documents, etc. So this is going to be like one of the steps that you're going to want to probably start with. Well, after taking stock today during the work time, is to kind of outline, whether it's on pen and paper or a document, whatever, of what you want your files and folders to look like as far as categories and sorted. So let's take a look at what that looks like on a drive. So here is my drive. Like I said, I'm not a 4, so don't judge. But I have my years here, and you'll see, I'll talk about these colors here in a minute, but first I want to look at like my curriculum folders. So the last time I was in the classroom was 2019-2020, and I have if I open that, you can see my units here. Obviously, this was 2020, so the last 2 units didn't happen. Instead, I have a distance learning file. Now, notice this distance learning folder has...
Sorry, yeah, we're not seeing your drive. We're seeing the slides.
That's... I should just share the whole window. Thank you. In fact, let me do that so I don't keep messing this up. Share a window. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, so I'll go back to what I was showing. So here is my drive, and you can see some of the other things I have here. Some of these are shared folders and whatnot. But here's the curriculum years since we started using Google Drive, 2015 through 2020. So I'm going to open last year's, the last year I was in the classroom, 2019 to 2020. You can see my units here. They line up in order because I have to have the numbers. With the exception that's unit 7 and 8 turned into distance learning, so I made a new file. But this folder here, you see these little stars? I put the little asterisks there because that puts it at the top. So that's a hint for how to get those like things that you're using the most or using right now at the top of whatever drive, the drive or the folder that you're in. So if I'm in this curriculum folder, I knew that this was the last thing I was using. I also made it green because that helped me like with the colors that are the ones that I'm using right now. So I knew I was using science fair and distance learning. They're at the top, and I made the folders a different color so that the grayed out folders are ones that I'm not really using right now, and the colored ones stick out a little bit more. So it makes it just easier for me to like, okay, that's the one I need. It makes it stand out a little bit. Other people have used different coloring systems for their folders. You know, like you have a color that maybe you color coded all your classes and each period has a different color and you hold your folders that way. It's up to you. Before I go too much further, I do want to show you that there are 2 different views to your drive. So you might be looking at my drive right now and being like, that's not how mine looks. That's because I'm using the list view. So if you come over here to the top right corner, you see grid view or you'll see list view. So if you're in grid view, you'll see list view, and else you can toggle back and forth. So this is what grid view looks like. And some people prefer to see it this way so they can see like the thumbnails of what it might look like. So if I opened a folder here, you might see, you can see the thumbnails of what these particular documents look like. For me, I prefer the list view because I like to be able to see the whole name, and that's just more helpful for me. A couple other things to point out is see this little arrow next to name. Currently, I'm sorting mine by name, and it is descending. So starting with the beginning of the alphabet and then moving down. If I wanted to reverse this, I can just click that arrow and it goes back and forth. If I wanted to access a file that was the last modified file, I can come over here to where it says last modified. There's a little arrow and I can find last modified by me or last modified in general or last opened by me. And that's going to show me the most current modified folder that I had. So kind of shockingly, it sorts, whoops. Yeah, there we go. So it sorts them. You can toggle back and forth. So the last folder that I modified was actually Unit 6, even though the last folder that we were actually using was distance learning. That just means that I put something in that folder for Unit 6, Unit 5, most recently. You can also sort by owner. So if you click on, maybe you can't sort by owner. So you can decide which way you want to sort, whichever works best for you. So that is one way to do them, the most currently used files. There's another way, because I saw this on a sticky note, is recent. So if you, over here on the left menu, if you click recent, you're going to see the files that you most recently had been working with once it loads. Ooh, that's slow. There we go. Okay, so most recently things that I've been working with, and you can see the files that I've been working with today. Earlier this week, files I've been working with. So if you know that there's something that you've been working with this week, and you can go here and find it. I don't really prefer to do it that way unless in a pinch. I prefer to work within folders. Okay. So coming back here, categories. So the other kind of thing to notice is I do have categories with, the other things. I have a Google Classroom folder is automatically going to be put in there for you by Google. I have other folders. They're not super organized, but things that people have shared with me, my personal things, stuff like that. And then the work I do for the district, which is a little bit more organized. So one of the things I pointed out, so with the stars, this is a drive folder that I use regularly. Coming back here, maybe. This is a drive folder I use the most often for the position that I'm in. So it's up at top, it's colored, it sticks out for me. And then the things I'm working on the most right now as PDs for like this and for the new teacher orientation and stuff. So I'm working in this folder the most right now. If I was working on the budget, like in March, then that might be the folder I put at the top. So I just changed the names, have those little stars next to it. Just kind of another little example there for you. Okay, so once you have an idea of the categories you want, think about these are things I just covered here is coloring your most important folders so they stand out, or have a color code system according to your own color system, using punctuation to move files or folders to the top, or numbering your files. So if I come back here, let's see, let's go to 2018, 2019, semester 1, maybe. So I have, they fall in order because they're by number. So if I have my slides here for the week there, for each week, there's unit 1 slide, week 1, unit 2, unit 1, week 2, unit 1, week 3, and so on. That helps to keep things in order. I also have, you can also date it. I think I dated my bell work so it went in order. What else? So numbering your files and then adding punctuation to your folders and files so that they come up at the top for you is kind of one of those little tricks for getting to things that you use most. Okay, then once you have a plan, then you have to go through the work of containing everything. And that's where the work comes in, because this is where most people will be like, I've never done this before. I don't have these folders, or I want to rearrange my folders so they make more sense. This is the time-consuming part. It will take more than the second hour that we're having today. It will take more than that. But that I do have that hour available for you to work if you are in the session today. So that's at 11:15 on the schedule. So if you are, again, sorry, my slides are not finished. We're going back to Drive. So making sure that everything is contained in a folder is going to help you with this cluster down here that happens when you have things that are not in a folder. And you can see, like I said, I didn't give myself a 4 on purpose. But I want to take some time today to organize my files. So what you're going to want to do, there's a couple easy ways to do this. And I use easy relatively. You can use this little arrow to open your drive to see all your different folders. And then you can also use the little drop down arrow next to those folders to see your subfolders and whatnot. So if I have, looking through here, I see that I have this item here, 7 billion counting. I remember that is for population growth, and that has to do with human impact. September 25th, 2017, I know that's going to be in the 2017-2018 school year. So I can use my little arrows here, and I know that's going to go into my human impact folder. So I can take that file and slide it into that folder without having to go to open it or to go move to blah, 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 blah. I can just slide it that way. The other way you could do that is, let's see, find atomic structure review from atomic structure model from 2015. I could also right click on that. I could go move to, and then it's going to take me through all of my folders. I could do it that way. I find it to be more time consuming than just clicking and dragging. But if I did want to put it in my 2015, 2016, it's going to go under fall and modeling atoms. And then I would move it there. That's another way to do it. But it's really up to you. I find that clicking and dragging is going to be easier for me. If you have a naming convention and you know that all of your files that you want to put into whatever folder it might be are going to have like the year and a unit name in it first per se, you can go to the search bar and you can put in, let's say, 2016 unit, however you might have named it, unit 2. I didn't use this naming convention, so for me, it's not going to come up with a lot of things. And then I search, it's going to find all these files that maybe have had that naming convention. Now, for you, it might be very clear. It might say exactly like, this is unit 1, 2016, and all the files that you didn't have for that are going to pop up, maybe, if that's how you did it. Then you can actually mass select by clicking and dragging or clicking and using holding shift, and you can select a bunch of files and then slide them over that way. So I know some people have very specific naming conventions and they'll search like the whatever their naming convention is. They will get their entire curriculum for that. They can then sort it by year through either their naming convention or last modified, or they can use the search tools up here in the little filter. I think Mark pointed out, and specify the search that they want. And then they can take all those files and move them into a folder. But that only really works if you had some sort of naming convention to start with. So it does take a lot of time, especially if you don't have things very well organized at the beginning. But in the end, it's going to be worth it because you're going to have all your files in these nice little folders, and then you can color code them however you would like. Speaking of color coding, let me show you how to do that. So let's say, for example, I have this folder that says HMS EdTech. I'm not the EdTech at HMS anymore. That is Paul Scotto. I don't actually need this one bright anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on that folder. I'm going to come down here to change color, and I think I can make this gray now. And I might actually even rename it so that my little asterisk is not there. So to rename it, I'm going to again right click, rename, and I'll take that star. Oh, asterisk. Speaking of stars, you may have noticed that there's these little stars next to the folders. This is another way to put specific folders that you're using on a regular basis in one place. So if I wanted to find, let's say that these are the folders I want starred, or that I starred the folders that I use the most. Over here on my left menu, I can click starred. I have a lot of lag right now, just thinking about it. And all of those folders and files that I have starred are going to show up in this. Now, this also shows me some starred folders that are shared with me. So if I wanted to sort those out, I think I thought you could sort by owner, maybe not. But I believe I could also unstar that. So you can unstar things, even if they're shared with you with a star, you can then unstar them by right-clicking and remove from starred. Okay. I'm going to take questions at the end or during the second hour because there's the next part I want to show you is important, and I'm seeing we only have a few minutes left. So the next part is maintain, and that's the all new files that you create are going in a folder. So this is where the maintenance comes. This is what's going to keep you using the system that you spent all this time to create, and it's going to make it so that the new files that you make, you can find easily. So let's say that I have 2022, 2023 science. I want to put all my new science curriculum in there for this year. Let's just say that's what's happening. I'm just going to pretend that I've already, oh my God, this lag, that I've already made my folders, even though I haven't because I'm just doing this as an example. And I would have all my units in here. Now, if I want to make a copy of something from a previous year that I want to use during my new year, but I want it to be like a copy that I'm going to iterate, that I'm going to change to make, after having done it last year and making it better this year. I want to show you what just happened. I want to show you a couple of different ways that you can make sure that the new folders, the new files that you're using go into the folder you want it to. So there's a couple different ways to do this. To think about when you're making new files or you're making copies. If you are making a copy of something, it's going to automatically go into the same folder that you put it in, unless you tell it otherwise. So if you just right click, this is the fastest way to make a copy. However, it's going to put it in this folder that you don't want it. So if the fastest way to do this is to make a copy, right click, make a copy, it puts it in here. It's going to drop it into, here it is, this 2019-2020 folder. I don't want it there. The thing about doing the right click is it doesn't give you an option to rename. It doesn't give you an option to move it into another folder. You have to go back and manually do that. So then I would have to go to rename. And then after I rename it, I would have to go to move to, and then I can move it into the folder that I want it to be in by clicking through this way and all of that. For me, I prefer to actually open the whole file because this helps me to, one, see what I had last year and look at it and go, and that this is something, yes, this is what I want to make a copy of. Of course, I choose to open a slide, so it's going to take forever to load. But yes, this is what I want to make a copy of. And then by going to File, Make a Copy, an entire presentation, then I get the option to rename right then and there. I can take off this copy of. I can change this to 2022. And I can change the folder. And this is that maintenance part here. I can change the folder. I can make sure it falls into my 2022, 2023 curriculum folder, which if I was doing this for real, I would have up at the top with stars and colors. I want to make sure it gets put into Unit 1, and then the copy is actually made where I want it to go. So there's a couple different pathways to get there. It's just kind of a matter of which way you work. So a couple of things I want to, words of warning, I guess, before we end, is if you make a new copy when you're in My Drive, if you make a new file in here, it's going to go directly into this folder of My Drive. So it makes a new file. It's the fastest way to do it. But once you have that document, it's going to live in My Drive, and that's where all the files go to be unorganized and sad. So once you make the file, you're going to want to make sure that you put it in the folder that you want it to go in. So next to the name, there's the star if you want it to be starred. Is the little folder, and it says move, and this is where you can move it into the folder that you want it to be in. 2022, 23, where's it go? And then move it into that folder. So whenever you make a new file within Drive, you want to make sure you put it in the folder before you get started with too much else so you don't forget. Another thing to think about is if you use this file within a document, within a slideshow, within Sheets or whatever, if you go to File, New, and you make a new document this way, regardless of whatever folder that file that you're working on is in, this new document that you make is going to drop it into my drive. No matter what folder you're in, which program you're in, it's going to drop it into my drive. So new document, opens it up here, and then you'll be able to see once it loads that this is in my drive. It's taking a while to load. When you are going through your school year and you're changing, let's say you're done with Unit 1, you're going into Unit 2, a hint to make things easily accessible would be to maybe add a star to that new unit that you're in. Add to starred, change the color. I'm in Unit 2 and I want this to be colored. Oh, this lag is killing me. Make it yellow. And I want this to be up at top. So as you're changing folders and units that you're using, by remembering to rename it and putting it up at the top and things is going to help you have those at the beginning. And then, of course, changing the last one that you were using so that it's not up at top. Okay. I went through a bunch super fast at the end there because I knew we were running out of time. I am going to stop recording and let you unmic if you want to ask questions. And I'm going to give you